Okay, now you know every year I kind of have to do something that's from Troma. I believe they bought this movie because it was done by a different group in the 1960s. This is Scream Baby Scream. Now, when I saw the trailer, I thought this was going to have a lot to do with, essentially cosmetic disfiguration. Essentially, that means someone going in for cosmetic work and the doctor doing bizarre disfiguring things to them. It's really not. That was kind of the sad part of this movie. It deals a lot with people who go to an art school. So there is lots of, art nudity. And again, being done in the 60s, you really don't get to the actual disfiguring stuff towards like the last 20 minutes of the movie. It's really kind of bizarre. And essentially you have a male guy in the art class who is essentially kind of dating some of the models and whatnot, as well as a couple of the artists. This guest artist comes in and he does these really bizarre, macabre works. Like, the really crazy sort of one eye is over here and the face is all, disfigured and the teeth are all disjunct and he tries to find the beauty in everything. Even the beauty in the most bizarre things. And that's about the first maybe hour of the movie. With it being in the 60s, a weird combination of psychedelic, trippy, hippie beatnik music, and then occasionally smooth jazz. They do drop acid and then go out and ride motorcycles. They do play acoustic guitar, they do go to a party where everyone is kind of blasted out of their mind. Because one of the guys has a hippie band who does bizarre psychedelic music. You're probably thinking right now I haven't mentioned anything about this being a horror movie yet. It's this weird kind of suspense thriller thing. And I'm going to ruin this whole movie for you because beyond the crazy music, this is, unless you're a Troma fan, this is kind of garbage. Not a lot of garbage. You find out that, this artist who had hand issues. He goes to see a doctor and fixes hand issues. The doctor essentially kind of scars his face and then makes the biblical reference, as God scarred Cain, I have scarred you. And that awakens in the artist this whole crazy sort of macabre, bizarre, painting. And he just does all my creativity began to explode. And but he's this weird, creepy, pseudo-monotone talking guy. He's that's when all of a sudden all my creativity began to explode. And I was painting like I've never painted before. And over time, I stood myself to more and more surgeries. And over time, the doctor, fixed his surgeries. He takes a liking to a female student who's dating the main male student. Convinces her to go back to his place to look at some things. Drugs her, and then essentially disfigures her. Now, if you see the DVD case for it, that's the way she looks. Essentially, he kind of messes up her mouth and has her teeth coming out of her top lip and moves one of her eyes from here to about here. Looks like she's wearing a half face of paper mache. Male art student goes there to try to find her. And that's when the huge hideous reveal is oh no, we can get out of here. You only don't go with me? Yes, we can get you fixed. That's great. Were you given the second shot yet, or the first shot? What do you mean the first shot? Because he was given a shot after he got knocked unconscious. And then, when he's running away, he gets hit by a car. This ironically is the first scene in the movie. So yes, the first scene you see in the movie takes place towards about the end of the movie. So he gets hit, and he's going to catch concussion. He then leaves the hospital and goes back to, where the artist is. And that's when he's revealed. To have what looked like worms burrowed into his head because his face is all disfigured. And then the woman screams. And that's how it ends. This scenario was done better when there's that Twilight episode where everyone kind of wore masks and they had like weird pig faces. You know, that one was done a lot better than this. Some of the acting is okay, and the story is... I'll be honest, that story's got some depthness to it. That's a deep story. You know, an artist who had a really bright career, who was then disfigured and then took on this whole, like, macabre, bizarre way of doing artwork, and he did it because he was disfigured by some crazy doctor, and then to make his artwork seem more realistic, he gets people, has them disfigured, and then essentially does artwork based upon their disfigurements. I mean, that's a pretty unique sort of plot for a movie. However, the effects are horrendous. This means like a first or second grade, production of anything. It's done bad. The acting is... The music alone makes it almost kind of worth watching, because it'd be like... Boom, 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 boom. Followed by like some smooth jazz for like 30 seconds. I'm like... I don't know if it's a problem with the DVD that I'm watching. The sound's just all bizarre and disjunct. And I'm like, oh no, that's the way it's supposed to sound. That must have been unsettling in a giant theater. To have heard just weird, just almost atonal music coming at you while those guys walk around in the dark. It might have worked well then. It does not work well now.